Hey there, YouTube. What's up? It's Bobby, aka Paginator, and I feel like I have only done unboxings lately on my channel, so today I've got a little mini haul to share with you, plus a bookish experience. I had the opportunity today to leave after school and travel to Salt Lake City to my favorite bookstore, the King's English, and they had an author event there with Margaret Peterson Haddix. And the King's English is a building that used to be a home, and it's been changed into a bookstore, so there's all these different little rooms where you find different sections of books. And unfortunately, at the bookstore, they've had some issues with their electricity lately, and the children's room, which is the biggest room, is where they usually have these events, and that was still having malfunctioning electricity problems, so we kind of crowded into the fiction room. And because being an adult at this event where there were quite a few kids, because it was Margaret Peterson Haddix who writes books for kids, I was kind of in this back corner, and as I was listening to her answer questions from the kids, and she was doing such a wonderful job at it, I noticed that I was sitting right next to the Bronte sisters. So I was kind of checking out the books while I was sitting there, and I couldn't be in a bookstore and not buy books. I had pre-ordered the one from the author that was there again, Margaret Peterson Haddix, and didn't need to buy any more books, but I did. So first I'll tell you a little bit about this book. It is called The Strangers, or Greystone Secrets. I think Greystone Secrets is the name of the series, and this is the first book. And she was kind enough to sign them for us. She signed this page here, and she wrote "Happy Reading," which is, if you watch my channel, something that I say in every video. And she also gave us a fun bookmark that matches the cover of the book, so that's very cool. And she talked a little bit about this book, and she said that there are 3 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister, and they are at the ages of 12, 10, and 8. And one day they come home from school expecting to see their mom, and they can't find her. And what they see is her laptop open to a news article that shows 3 kids that have been kidnapped. Now, these 3 kids just happen to have the same first and middle names and birthdays of our 3 kids in the story. And so naturally they would assume that there is a connection in there somewhere. And so during this book, they're trying to kind of figure out a mystery. And the author did make mention that she used some codes. She did a lot of research about secret codes and different things like that, and implanted some of those in the story as well. So this seems like it will be a really cute read. Because of the age of the characters, again 12, 10, and 8, I don't know how many of my 7th and 8th graders are going to want to pick up this book, because they're 12, 13, and 14, and they usually like to read characters older than themselves. So we'll see if I can get any of them to read them. If not, it'll just be a fun read for me, because as an adult, I can understand that it's okay to read about characters younger than yourself. It's fine to do. So we were able to chat with her for a little bit. We were one of the first people there, my little group was, and we talked to her about how we'd driven from Wyoming to get there, and she was very impressed that we had driven all that way to meet her. And then when things got going, it was really crowded in that room, and so my anxiety was starting to spike a little bit. But honestly, and this is going to sound kind of a nerdy thing to say, being surrounded by books, because there were books on this side of me, one person, and then books on this side of me and books behind me, it honestly helped to keep me calm. Is that weird? I kind of feel like it might be a little bit weird, but if it works, I'm okay with that, because there were no anxiety attacks being in that crowded place, and no tears, and it was just chill. So I was very glad to get through that experience with no stress or anxiety issues. And as I mentioned, I was sitting next to the Bronte sisters, so I picked up a couple of their books that I don't have. A copy of Wuthering Heights. I don't know why I don't own Wuthering Heights. I've read it before. I think I read it in college. But I wanted a copy of my own, because that's what book hoarders do. And then I also got one by Anne Bronte, which is The Tenants of Wildfell Hall. And I don't really know a whole lot about this story. I know that the characters are Gilbert and Helen, and I read the back of this, but I just drove 2 hours after this event with children in my car, and my brain's afuzz with their noise. So I don't recall exactly what I read on the back of this, and I'm too tired to stop and read this and then get back into the video. I sincerely apologize. I didn't get any Charlotte Bronte books because I already have like 5 copies of Jane Eyre and a copy of Villette and some of the other Bronte books, so I just got those 2. And then I did pick up one more book in the young adult section, which was We Set the Dark on Fire. And I want to say that the author's name is Taylor K. Mejia. It's Mejia. So if it's Spanish, then the J becomes the H sound, Mejia. I just don't know if it's Spanish. Anyway, We Set the Dark on Fire has been getting a lot of hype on like Epic Reads and some other book blogs and places, and I don't know a whole lot about the story. I know that there's a school for girls involved, and they're trained for a couple of different roles depending on their specialization. Either they're going to run their husband's household or raise his children, but not both. And so it's definitely about male-female roles in this story, and I've also heard that there is a female-female romantic relationship. And I'm really hoping that this will be one that will be school appropriate for my kiddos, because I think I've mentioned on this channel before, I have a student who identifies as lesbian and is wanting to read some romantic lesbian stories, but I just don't feel good about giving ones to her that aren't appropriate for her age. So we'll read it first and see how it goes. I'm really excited for all of these books that I have, and yeah, it was a fun time. So maybe sometime I'll just go chill in the bookstore and sit amongst the Bronte sisters again, because they were very helpful for me in having just a fun, positive experience at the bookstore. Alright, well, it's past my bedtime, so I'm going to sign off for now and wish you a wonderful and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.